Alright, so welcome to the nuclear tutorial, well, quick start, whatever you want to call it, for 4.0. So basically everything's wiped. We're starting out with the tutorial because that's good for about 40 grand. So as you can see here, first step is going to be to access your journal and look at the entry. Then the next step will be to actually eat and drink. Seeing a little glitching here and there from the tutorial. So if you're not seeing the steps pop up, look in your contract and see if it's listed in there. And if it is, then you can go ahead and do it. Alright, so in this case, we're going to eat and drink. You hit F and take it, drink it by holding the left mouse button. You can just hold it, it'll drink the whole thing. If you just tap it, it'll take the drink. Same thing with the food. You'd have to grab it, hold F to eat the whole thing. Or, sorry, hold the left mouse button to eat the whole thing. Alright, we don't need this bottle, so I'm going to get rid of it. We're going to go over here. We're going to hold F on our helmet and equip it. You can actually move around the circle by using the mouse. Alright, then we're going to hold F to open the door. We're going to come out here, hold F, well, we click F to call the elevator. And then once we're in the elevator, we're going to hold F and select lobby. Most things have a quick interact where you just hit F. The elevator entries like that, you have to actually select where you want to go. Alright, once we're out, it updated. Now we have to go over here and view this map. Pretty much any of the starting locations should let you do it. Should note that Area 18 does not have the tutorial right now. So it's either New Babbage, Orison, or Hurston. Hurston's more central. New Babbage is farthest from Pyro. And
hi, welcome.
Alright, so once we're done with that part, we're going to go over here. We're going to access this terminal. You don't actually have to buy anything here, but we're going to. So we're going to go ahead and pick up a couple of drinks. You need 2. And you can actually set it to your armor where it says choose destination. And that'll actually send it right to your armor. We're going to pick up a multi-tool. And we're going to pick up a tractor beam attachment. The reason we're going to do this is because this way we'll be able to continue on and do a hauling mission afterwards. Just so we can try to get our starting income up. And we're going to come over here. We're going to go ahead and equip those. Move the bottles down into the leg armor. Then we're going to go over here to the pharmacy. We're going to pick up some med pens and a med gun and a refill for the med gun. And that'll take care of just about everything we need. To start out anyway. So go ahead and buy like 4 of these. Because your army will only hold 4. We'll buy 1 med gun and 1 refill. Same thing, once we get out here, we're going to go ahead and hit I. We'll go ahead and equip the med gun and the pens. And we'll move that down to the leg armor too. Don't need a backpack at this point. Although you can get one if you really want. Alright, once we're done with that, we're going to come down here. We're going to head to the spaceport following the tutorial.
Capsule now approaching station. Stand clear of disembarking passengers.
I should note, basically, the tutorial, if you played before, is just like a free 40 grand, because you already know these things. But if you're new, the tutorial can walk you through some of the basics, including your first flight. And you don't have to worry about losing the ship, because it's not actually yours. And it doesn't take long to claim. We'll go ahead and take the train over to the spaceport. It's a little bit of a ride, about a minute. These wipes don't happen very often anymore, but when they do, it's pretty much a level playing field. I mean, obviously, other than whatever ships you pledged. My main account obviously has quite a few, as you've seen in the past videos, but this one literally doesn't. It has like 1 or 2 ships, starter ships, and that's it. So we'll be doing most of the beginner new player videos on this account. So that way we can basically start out and show you how to progress. Because there's a couple different paths you can take from an industrial standpoint. You can continue to do small hauling missions. You can do rock mining. You can do prospector mining. Eventually you can do salvage once you can get a salvage ship. The cheapest path is probably going to be the rock mining, because you can run a rock and a cutter for like less than 70 grand, I think. Whereas the prospector's like 90, or I think it's 93, maybe 73. I don't remember. But it's definitely cheaper to do the cutter and the rock. And you can actually do rock mining and you can sell right away. You can sell right away with prospector mining as well. Alright, so we're going to go here to the terminal as it said to. We're going to actually deliver our ship, and then we're going to retrieve it.
Please visit us again. Welcome to the ASOP vehicle selected.
This should bring it up in our hangar,
Please visit us again.
and then we'll have to go there. Notice it's a little bit glitchy still, like it's not showing us most of the next steps. I mean, they're actually in the contract if you look at it, but they're just not showing up on the screen. Alright, if you get that, don't worry, just go to another elevator. I should also preface this whole tutorial thing with, if you run into issues where you cannot complete it, then you can't see your actual ships, then you'll have to abandon the contract so that you can get your ships. You still get to keep the armor and all. You just don't get the money. But if it works, it's extra money to start out with. And you're looking for somewhere between probably 175 and 200 grand to start is what you want. And you can actually get that pretty easily. Matter of fact, in this video, we'll work on that. We'll try to get to that 175 to 200k point. Because it'll open up other options for the follow-on videos. Alright, for those that didn't see, you can either hit U to power up the ship, and then I to start the engines, or you can actually use F to look around and find the flight ready button, and that'll do both. We're going to take off here. If you're comfortable with flying, then you can go ahead and put your landing gear up by hitting N. If you're not comfortable with flying, I would wait until you get out of the hangar, because that'll limit your speed. And depending on how comfortable you are, you can either leave before the doors are fully open or after. Alright, once we get outside here, we're basically going to have to wait for the waypoints to come up. Like that. And then we're going to follow these waypoints in kind of a gradually increasing circle, or ascending circle. And that'll take us up to the point where we're supposed to jump to Port Tressler, or whatever station you're at. It'll either be Seraphim at Orison, or it'll be Everest Harbor at Hurston. Again, you can stay in SCM if you want, just to be able to control it better. If you're comfortable, you can go to nav mode where you can fly faster. Just make sure you slow down as you get closer to the points so you don't overshoot them too far. If you don't have joysticks, you're going to be using pretty much your WASD for controlling the direction of the ship. I believe it's Q or E to roll, I believe. And you'll use space to go up and control to go down. Left control to go down. To strafe up and down, that is. As you can tell, when you start getting up into speed, it starts to drift the way it was going a little longer until it straightens out. For the purpose of these tutorials, I've got the volume on the game down quite a bit, just so it doesn't go over me. And I'm going to try to keep most of these tutorial videos an hour or less, but we'll see how it goes. As you can see, as you ascend up through the atmosphere in nav mode, you will go faster and faster until you eventually reach the point where you can get up to your full speed. Alright, so this should be the last checkpoint, and we should be going straight to Port Tressler. Alright, so you'll line up on Port Tressler, wait for the calibration to finish, and then you'll actually hit the left mouse button, and that should take you. Now, when I made this video, they hadn't fixed it yet, but it has since been fixed, so it'll actually take you to it. If for some reason it does not, you can actually fly straight there rather than take a quantum jump. In this case, it's obviously still having issues. So what we're going to end up doing at some point here is we're just going to end up flying there instead. And if you actually in nav mode, you can actually go pretty quick. So it's not really that much of a factor. All right. All right. Another process you can do is you can line up on something else. Hit the wrong button there. V is scan. V as in Victor. Another thing you can do is actually jump in and then hit the button to immediately jump back out and then turn around and come back. And that will also help you get there. But keep in mind, you only have a certain amount of time to go back. Otherwise, it will abandon the mission and you won't get the money. Alright, so there we go. Now we're just wait for it to come up here. Alright, so now we can fly in and land. Alright, and as usual, once you get close, come out of nav mode, go to SCM, and that'll slow you down. And then if you have cruise on, make sure you turn it off somewhere in here so you can slow down in time. And then basically we're just going to wait for the doors to finish opening, and then we're going to land. As I said previously, when you're starting out right here, we're going to buy a minimum of stuff, and that's it. You can hit F4 to go into third person on the ship. That way you can see where you're landing. Try to keep it more or less centered. Alright, so we've landed, we'll exit the ship. Don't have to worry about closing it or anything like that because we're going to go store it. Make sure those doors to the hangar close before you try to store it. Alright, that'll take it down and store it. Once that happens, this should make it so we can complete the mission by checking our journal. Alright, there's our notification to check the journal. You'll have a couple of entries here that aren't read, so you can read all of them. You're welcome to read through them if you want. I've read them before, so I'm not worried about it. Alright, so that's done. So now we gave us our 40, so we started out with 25. We spent about 3.5, 4 grand. Brought us down to 21, and now we're back up to 61.
Goodbye.
Now what we'll do is we'll look for hauling missions. Notice that it showed the pilot the tutorial ship out of the hangar, and it showed it in red. It basically is saying that we didn't do that. Alright, so let's see what we got here. So hauling, we got a 50k mission, deliver 9 SCU to Grey Cat Stanton. If you have a cutter or another ship that will haul that much, then you can go ahead and do it. Otherwise, you'll have to do it in 2 trips. Cutter is only rated for 4 SCU, but it will actually do more. So we'll go ahead and retrieve it and bring it up.
Been delivered. Please visit us again. Goodbye.
And then we'll position the ship for easy loading. This is why we bought the multi-tool with the tractor beam, so we could do hauling missions to start out. That's a good way to get yourself up there in the money. And you can literally keep doing it. Theoretically, you could just do hauling if that's what you wanted to, because there's always some of those small missions, and you'll be able to buy something else to use. Either buy another ship for a bigger ship for cargo, or buy a prospector, buy a vulture, or whatever the case may be. We're going to go ahead and jump in the ship here and turn it on, and then we're going to move it so that it's easier to load. That way we can just take it straight out of the cargo elevator and straight into the ship. And we'll have to stack these a certain way, obviously, to make them fit, because the grid is only 4 SCU. So after that, everything will be loose in it. So there we hit the flight ready. Kind of back it in here a little bit. You can always move the camera around if you need to. I've done this a few times though, so. Alright, then we're going to go ahead and open all the doors. You can find it under Actions and Ship, I believe it is. But if you can't find it there, just kind of look around. When you hit left Alt and F, it'll bring up that thought menu. Hit F. We'll send the elevator down first. That will actually bring up the cargo. Well, we'll actually bring up the cargo. So we'll go ahead and transfer it over and then bring it back up. And then we'll be able to load it on the ship. In this particular case, we're not going to be going back to the spaceport at New Babbage. We're going to actually take it to another location, the Grey Cat facility. And then we'll see about grabbing another mission till we get up to that 175 to 200k range. And by all means, if you find one at the Grey Cat station base that you can actually get it, then take it there. But I haven't had a lot of luck with that lately. Not going to where I want to go anyway. So basically we're going to stack it too high. Like I said, the grid is only 4 SCU, so it's too deep, too high. So that is effectively the grid filled. So now everything else is going to go in here. It's going to be loose. So we'll have to be careful how we position it so we can still get through. So you could fit an additional 2 SCU right here at the end. And then we'll have to start stacking right next to these. I usually try to do not quite all the way up to the door so I have enough room to get through, and as far over to the left as I can get it. Just so I can make sure to leave enough room to be able to get through. You'll need to be careful when you're putting these in there because they can get kind of wonky. When they're not on the grid, they tend to have a tendency to bounce around sometimes. So if that happens, just kind of reset a little bit. Maybe pull it back out and reposition it. All right, there we go. So now we're in. Go ahead and hold R to put our multi-tool away. Go ahead and close the door. Got just enough room to get through here. Might have to actually hit the button to open. All right, go ahead and hit I to bring the power back on if you turned it off. We'll go ahead and lift back off here. Again, spacebar if you don't have a joystick. Otherwise, it'll be whatever you set it up for on your stick or throttle. Go ahead and call a hangar. You can either do it by setting it for a button under the flight movement. It'll be request landing option. You can set a keybind for it. Or you can actually hit F1 and go to comms, or F11, which will bring comms up directly. Go to the second friends, or go to friends, and it should be the first entry. In this case, it would be listed as Port Tressler. And then that'll click that, and it'll actually call for takeoff. All right, so once we get out of here, we're going to go to nav mode. We're going to have to jump to Microtech. And you can map all of this, but since we're right here, I'm going to go ahead and do it. Because it won't let us jump straight to the shipment. So you got to jump to Microtech first. A recent change for those that haven't played in a while. Before you could just kind of jump there. Now you have to actually go to the planet first before you can go to the outpost and so forth. All right. And we'll go ahead and line up on it. Get the quantum spooled. And hit your button to jump. Again, if you haven't changed it, it'll be the left mouse button. To go back and forth between nav mode, if I haven't mentioned it, will actually be, should be B by default. I've actually changed mine. And again, there's also helpful keybind hints down in the bottom right corner. Like you can see, I have QT exit. That's actually B for me because I set B to be my trigger. And I have a button on my joystick that actually changes modes. All right, so it'll bring us out somewhere between 20 and 25, 30 in that range. It varies depending on where you're going. And then we'll go ahead and bring it up to speed. I'm gonna go ahead and set my cruise to the max, and then we'll just fly in until we get to about 10K or so, and then we'll slow down by hitting SEM mode. All right, like I said, once we get closer, we'll go to SCM and slow down. We'll get to pretty much right over the place, and then we'll call for a hangar just to be on the safe side. And then we'll go wherever it tells us to. All right, so we got our hangar request. Fly over here, drop down in. And we're not planning on storing our ship or staying here, so it doesn't really matter where we park on the pad. So we're going to go ahead and try to line it up so we can unload as quick as possible, and then get back out of here. I should mention when you go to these outposts like this, the new research centers and distribution centers and so forth, you actually have a certain amount of time afterwards. It's like a half an hour to get out after you've completed your mission. I am going to kind of try to keep it on the pad to some extent inside that dotted yellow line that runs the whole width of the whole circumference of it, just so I can refuel and repair. But other than that, we're going to try to get as close to the hangar as we can within reason. All right. Now again, we can go ahead and repair and refuel. And we can go ahead and open the doors. It's easier to do it from the seat here. Work our way out. Then we'll go ahead and get our tractor beam out by hitting 5 and just keep hitting it until the tractor beam's pulled up. We're going to go ahead and unload these into the grid in the elevator. Doesn't really matter where you put them on the grid, but I kind of like to line them up somewhat. Again, just one at a time. Get it positioned where you want it, then go after the next one. Again, some of these missions you have fewer or less. Some I've seen them as low as 6 SEU. Some I've seen up to 10 or 11. The cutter will handle all of those. If you have another ship, say an Avenger Titan, it only holds 8. You might be able to get more in there. I don't know. It's kind of iffy. Just because now the Avenger has the advantage of 2 entry points. So you can go in through the ramp to get to the ship, or you can actually go through the cockpit from the front of the ship. So you can pretty much pack it because of that. But I still don't know that it'll hold 11 or 12. All right, so we're going to run over here. We're going to put our tool away. Again, by holding R. And then we're going to send the elevator down. We should get this screen. If you don't get that screen, then it's not going to take it for the mission. You'll have to bring it back up and try again. You may even have to load it back in your ship, fly away, and come back. But you have to have that screen that popped up in order to get credit for it. And you'll see now we're up to 111K. We'll look through the missions here. See if we can find another one, either going back to Tressler or going to the spaceport, one of the two. I'm not thinking we're probably going to find much here, but so realistically what we'll probably do is we'll go back up to Port Tressler and we'll run another mission from there. I try to avoid, in the beginning at least, the ones with multiple stops, just because we're going for speed here to make money so we can do other stuff. If you are, by all means, if you're going to do cargo and that's your thing, or hauling, just go ahead and keep going. Grab whichever ones you can that'll max out your ability and keep trucking. For my purposes, I'm usually more into salvage and mining. So I'm going to work towards that because that's where I feel the money's really at. You might be able to go out and make 100 grand, 150 grand in an hour, but you get a good mining load and you refine it and you can make that plus. Same thing with salvage. You come back with a full load of salvage from ships and panels and you're looking at easily 200 plus. So There, I saw a couple for the spaceport. So there's one for 9 SCU from Port Tressler and 11 SCU. So we'll go ahead and guess we're gonna need to get out of here. Like I said, you have half an hour, so I mean it's not like you gotta rush. We'll go back up to Port Tressler since that's where those missions are anyway. We'll go back up there and we'll try to pull a mission. We'll go ahead and get out of here. If you're just starting out in the game, you can get a starter package, and that's all you really need. I wouldn't worry about buying paints or anything else. Theoretically, if you're joining like right now during Luminalia, you can get quite a few paints, like Icebreak and so forth. I believe one of the Icebreak paints is actually Cutter on one of the days. So, I mean, you can start out with that right off the bat. And then a lot of times they'll actually include a paint during events and so forth. So, all right, let's see. As we're flying up here, we'll take a look again. And these 50K ones are usually like from Port Tressler to the planet, so I'll look at some of the other ones, but like I said, I really don't want to do multiple stops. When I'm in the cargo runner mode, then I don't have a problem with multiple stops, but early in the game like this, I want to make it as quick as possible. Here we go. That looks promising. I think we'll go ahead and take that one. It's only 8 SCU, so it'll fit in the cutter easily, and it's 50 grand. So, all right, we'll go ahead and jump over to Tressler. So you may have to look around, or you may even have to map it. I'll go ahead and jump to an OM, just to be on the safe side usually. And we can work around the planet to get to Tressler. So since we've got the marker, it's going to show us where it's at. All right. And of course, we're still dealing with this in this video. However, I should, like I've mentioned previously, they have actually fixed that. So, but if you do run into this problem again, you can actually just pick another spot that's past it, jump a little bit and hit your button to jump back out, and then turn around and come back. At this point, it's not as much of an issue because you're not doing the tutorial, so it doesn't matter. All right, we'll go ahead and line up and jump back to Tressler. And that'll bring us out closer. And again, same as before. Just kind of flying at nav speed in nav mode until you get close enough. When you get to about 10K or so, you can slow down by hitting going into SCM, or you can even wait till you're closer. Go ahead and call for a hangar and get slowed down here. If you run into this issue, if you look at my throttle there, where it's showing, if you run into the issue where it's staying wherever you put it on your stick, then you can usually just hit your cruise control again, and that'll fix it. Sometimes if that doesn't fix it, go ahead and hit C for coupling, or coupled mode to decouple, and then hit it again, put it back in coupled mode, and then actually hit your cruise. By default, it's Alt C, left Alt C. So, all right, here we go. Let's go ahead and go down, go land here. So we'll land in here. We'll go ahead and get loaded up. Alright, so same thing. Line up on the hangar, on the cargo freight elevator. Put our landing gear down and go ahead and drop out here and go ahead and open our doors. Go ahead and repair and refuel. Run into that, you can actually just, like if it triggers over to where it won't let you, you can actually just pick another tab and come back, and usually that'll fix it. Might have to do it a couple of times, but we'll open all the doors so we can get loaded here. We don't have quite as much cargo this time, so it'll be a little easier. But same method. Go over here to the cargo terminal, or the freight elevator terminal, and send it down. And we'll load the boxes on, bring it back up, and then we'll load them in the ship. So they've actually made these hauling missions pretty easy, especially for the ones with, 10 or less boxes. Go ahead and hit 5 until we get our multi-tool. And then we'll go ahead and start loading. You can actually park your ship the way I did here, or you can even park it like at a 90-degree angle, like perpendicular to the hangar. Then you don't have to do 180s to reach it. Alright, and since we're only doing 6 SU here, it'll all fit on the one side, so it'll be a lot easier. Sometimes this mission will pop up like when you first go to Port Tressler on the tutorial, and then you can just grab that and take it back down to spaceport. Hit R, hold it to get rid of our tool, put it away. Go ahead and close up the ship here. ahead and hit I to bring the engines back up. Go ahead and take off and get situated for clearing the hangar. We'll actually call for takeoff. Alright. Then the same thing. Go to nav mode. Jump to microtech. And as long as you've got a mission, it should show you a waypoint where you need to go. So basically you just look for that diamond. And then you'll jump to where you need to go. In this particular case, we have to jump to New Babbage. We can't just jump straight to the spaceport, but once we get within like 20 something K from it, then we can set our sights for it. And a lot of ships have come out since this cutter did, but I still think it's the best starter ship. Especially if you're only going to have one ship, make it a cutter. I mean, obviously, if you can afford more, then, or you want to spend more, whichever, then you can get something else. But in order, what I would normally go for would be the cutter, and then probably the vulture, because that way you can start salvaging right out of the gate. Couple other options for you. So start out with the cutter, and then maybe upgrade it or buy another ship, maybe like a Hull A, or if you want to do cargo. The Vulture, if you want to do salvage. The Prospector, if you want to do mining. But you could also go with like a Cuddy Black or a Spirit C1 or something to that effect, and then pick up a rock to go with it. The rock in game costs about 100 grand. So you can get it pretty quickly. Just do a few cargo missions and you'll have enough to buy a rock. So if you have a Cuddy Black or a Spirit C1 to go with it, something that'll haul it around, then you can start rock mining right off the bat. And theoretically you could make anywhere from 100 to 200K per hour, depending on what you find for minables. Alright. So we called for a landing. Go ahead and take it in here. Probably going to store the ship after this, so I want to make sure I stay on the pad. Unless you're getting low on money, I would always get used to refueling or repairing every time you land. That way you never forget. Just make it kind of part of your habit. So that way you're never low on fuel. This is particularly important when you're going to Pyro. When you go through the jump point, you want to make sure you have a fuel tank just in case something happens and you pop out before you get to your destination. Like you run into the side of the wall or one of the little columns in it. That's going to be a little bit farther along in the new player tutorial. And you can do this at any of the 3 places where you can do the tutorial. So it doesn't have to be New Babbage. If you want to start at Orison or Hurston, either one. Of the 2, Hurston is probably more centrally located. So that's a good place to start if you want to go a lot of places. Orison it's a beautiful city in the game. Probably the most beautiful city in the game. And since they fixed how far away you have to get before you can jump, it's actually pretty reasonable now. And then of course Microtech, being that Pyro has released, most people aren't starting here. So you can actually be pretty much free of any trouble here for a while. For the most part, anyway. And obviously, there's going to be outliers. So don't start at New Babbage, run into a pirate, and be like, "You told me there wouldn't be any." I can't tell you that. But it's less likely. All right, we'll go ahead and close the ship. Then we'll go ahead and send the cargo down, get paid. Again, you got to get that window for it to count. And then once you send it down, it should complete the mission. And no, I haven't bought anything extra on this. I got some of it from the IAE Academy, and the rest of it's just been Luminalia and stuff like that. So the only thing I bought on this account is 2 ships. One is the Cutter, and one is the Pisces Rescue for bunkers. And that's just because it has a med bed. So you can actually respawn in it if you're at it. And there you go. We're at 161K. We do 1 or 2 more of these, and we'd be up to 180, 200. Oh, we'd be over 200 on the next one. But that's pretty much it. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. Other than that, have a good day.